Good evening, welcome. This is a Marion City Council meeting for Thursday, September 19, 2019. Thank you for joining us. May we have please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Roll call, please.
Mr. Draper?
Here.
Ms. Atkins?
Here.
Mr. Jensen?
Here.
Mayor Abu-Asley?
Here.
Mr. Sterned?
Here.
Mr. Brandt?
Here.
Ms. Cadelia?
Here.
Thank you. At this time, we have a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay. This evening, we don't have any proclamations or oaths of office or presentations, so it's unusual. At this time, we have a public forum, which is a section for comments from members of the public on any topic listed on the agenda but not associated with a public hearing. If there is a public hearing, people will have a chance to make comments at that time. So if there's anything on the agenda that is not a public hearing and anyone would like to make comments on that, this is the time to do that. Please come forward. Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward with the consent agenda.
Your Honor, I move to approve the consent agenda as follows. This is including items A1 through F3, resolution numbers 27969 through 27978, and I'd like to include one more item, which is on page 3. It's item 2C1, and I'll just read it for clarity. It's a motion to receive, file, and discuss a letter of request from Integrity Custom Homes, Inc. regarding a request to connect Smithland Drive between Echo Hill Drive and Oak Park Circles, and that's on behalf of Integrity Custom Homes, Inc.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented, including resolutions, items A1 through F3, resolutions 27969 through 27978, as well as item 2C1. Discussion. Okay, we have Mr. Sternad.
Sure. I would, excuse me, I just want to call out number 7, the resolution of the new police chief. I just like to, again, would like to thank the four individuals that applied and our 2 internal candidates that applied for that position as well. So again, we would like to just, from the council's perspective, say thank you again to those candidates, and we appreciated that interest. Thank you.
Other comments? Other questions? Discussion? Okay, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay, the motion is approved. Ms. Atkins?
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda with Mayor Abu-Asley's abstention from voting and discussion, including D1 through F1, resolutions 27979 through 27982.
Second.
And I will no doubt turn over the gavel to Mayor Pro Tem.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda with Mayor Abu-Asley's abstention from voting and discussion on items 2D1 through F1, through G. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of this motion, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say no. Motion passes. Thank you. I'll relinquish the meeting back over to the mayor. Thank you.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 19-23, providing for the division of taxes levied on taxable property in the September 2019 Collins Road Extension Urban Renewal Area Edition pursuant to Section 403.19 of the Code of Iowa, and this is the second consideration.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 19-23, providing for the division of taxes levied on taxable property in the September 2019 Collins Road Extension Urban Renewal Area Addition, pursuant to Section 403.19 of the Code of Iowa. This is our second consideration. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to suspend the rules and proceed to final consideration of ordinance number 19-23.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to suspend the rules and proceed with a final consideration and approval of ordinance number 19-23. Discussion.
I just want to note that the reason that we put that on the agenda is because in the past, council has moved to the third in this situation, and so that's what our TIF attorneys provide us. Though if you do not feel comfortable doing that, we can, if you vote that down, we'll just put number 3 onto the next agenda in October.
Okay. I guess my question is there any urgency or any reason why we would do that?
No, it was just past practice, and to reiterate, we did hold a consultation meeting with all impacted taxing districts back in August. No one attended our in-person meeting, and we received no comments.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Goodell.
I'm just going to pre-explain my no vote. I think everybody up here is familiar. I'm not a fan of suspending the rules. I am in support of it, and I will vote to support number 3, but I will be a no on number 2.
I guess my feeling on it is that if the rule is to have 3 readings, unless there's, sometimes there's a reason why you suspend it, and I know that it's allowed, and, but if there's no urgency, I think you just, my feeling is to just handle it in the normal process. Further discussion? Okay, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion to suspend the rules and proceed to final consideration of ordinance number 19-23, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no.
No.
And I'm a no, so we have 3 noes. The motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 19-23, providing a division of taxes levied on taxable property in the September 2019 Collins Road Extension Urban Renewal Area Addition pursuant to Section 403.19 of the Code of Iowa. Final consideration.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 19-23, providing for the division of taxes levied on taxable property in the September 2019 Collins Road Extension Urban Renewal Area Addition pursuant to Section 403.19 of the Code of Iowa. Final consideration. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of ordinance number 19-23, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 27983, approving fiscal year 2019 through 2020 capital budget transfers.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27983, approving fiscal year 2019-2020 capital budget transfers. Discussion? Does someone want to just synopsize it for members of the public over here?
Yeah, this was a rule change by the state. It used to be that when the city council approved the budget, any transfers that were contemplated as part of the budget could automatically be done. Now the state wants to see that when you're making those transfers that there's supporting legislation from the council to authorize them.
Clear? Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, of the resolution number 27983, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 27984, approving contract and bond with Christner Contracting Incorporated regarding the 2019 fire station project in the amount of $9,367,000.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27984, approving contract with bond with Christner Contracting, Inc. regarding the 2019 fire station project in the amount of $9,367,000. Discussion? Okay. All those in favor of the motion to approve resolution number 27984, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 27985, approving contract and bond with Peterson Contractors, Inc. regarding the removal of railroad bridge over Marion Boulevard in advance of Seymour Trail in the amount of $310,524.50.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27985, approving contract and bond with Peterson Contractors, Inc. regarding removal of railroad bridge over Marion Boulevard in the amount of $310,524.50. Discussion? We'll just reiterate that 80% of this funding comes from the CMPO. Okay. All right. All those in favor of resolution number 27985, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no.
No.
We have one no. The motion is approved. Thank you. Mr. Brandt. Oh, no, Mr. Cernat.
Mayor, I move to direct staff to create an oversized and overload truck permit policy.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to direct staff to create an oversized and overload truck permit policy. Discussion? I know we had quite a bit of discussion on Tuesday, but if anybody has anything else?
Is that, staff is going to create this, then they'll bring that back for our approval, is that?
Yes, this is authorizing the staff to look into a proposed policy that would come back to the council to discuss and debate. And
So basically, we're approving their looking into it is what
we're asking them to spend time to look at it.
All right.
So they wanted to make sure that there was enough support to at least consider it.
And I think due to the time of the year, I'm assuming we can make this a lower priority on their schedule as well.
Yeah, it won't be a top priority. It's something that my assistant will do in her spare time.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of getting towards the end of the construction season, so.
We have a temporary solution until we have an actual policy, so.
So I got a question. So the situation that you described on Tuesday, where somebody was stopped and ticketed, what kind of fine did they have as a result of that?
It was $350. They did ask me to write a memo to the Lynn County attorney explaining the situation, that basically we have an ordinance on the books, but we don't really have an official permit. I did do that, so I don't know if it will be waived. That's up to the court system.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, yes, Ms. Gadela.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up that since we had this discussion on Tuesday, I received a call from a local contractor who would like to provide information from their perspective, which I don't think could hurt in us informing our decision. And I know there'll be 3 policy reads and there's a lot of time. But I just wanted to mention that and ask, they actually asked if I had time to sit down and have this conversation, but I think it would benefit us all because it's new to us. So maybe we can extend an invitation to put them at a work session and give them, 10 or 15 minutes to talk about their experience in other cities. We could ask questions, et cetera, but I think it would just be good in data gathering for us.
Absolutely. It can only help.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion to direct staff to create an oversized and overload truck permit policy, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. Mr. Brandt.
Mayor, I move to receive and file and discuss final sanitary sewer study by HDR.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve, to receive, file, and discuss the final sanitary sewer study by HDR. Discussion? Was the plan to have further discussion on this tonight, or just receive and file, or?
If you guys want to give us any input as far as what you want those growth patterns to be, this is kind of the build-out that they put on there. Again, our boundaries were County Home Road and one section east of Highway 13. Eventually, we are going to set up some meetings and start having that discussion internally with staff, but if council has any input that they would like to provide, that would be an opportunity to give that to staff now.
So, to paraphrase, if you've got any first impressions or anything that immediately jumped out at you about that you'd like us to consider when we move on to starting to look at it in more detail, please let us know.
Not ready.
Okay. All right. All those in favor of the motion to receive, file, and discuss the sanitary sewer study, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. For the next item, I will turn over the gavel to Mayor Pro Tem.
Ms. Goodell?
Yes, Your Honor. I move to approve resolution number 27986, approving contract and bond with LL Pelling Company, Inc. regarding the 2019 HMA resurfacing project in the amount of $1,025,331.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27986, approving the contract and bond with LL Pelling Company, Incorporated regarding the 2019 HMA resurfacing project in the amount of $1,025,331. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of resolution number 27986 say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion passes. I'll turn the meeting back over to the mayor.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 27987, approving Echo Ridge Estates 3rd Edition Final Plat and Memorandum of Agreement for property located north of Echo Hill Road and west of Albernet Road, Marion, Iowa. Integrity Custom Homes, Inc.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27987, approving Echo Ridge Estates 3rd Edition Final Plat and Memorandum of Agreement for the property located north of Echo Hill Road and west of Albernet Road. Discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Just had a question on the dark black border on the west side. Is that the end of Marion where Cedar Rapids begins, or is there another chunk of land somebody owns in Marion there?
No, that is the corporate limit.
Okay.
And so on the other side of that is currently county.
Oh, it's county.
Yep, it is county.
Okay. Thank you.
But there's still land between this and the annexation agreement line, right?
I don't. No, that's
Is
it.
the annexation
That's
agreement
the
line?
annexation agreement
Okay.
line. Correct.
I think that's what she was trying to get at.
I just
so.
wanted to see how far we went. We're touching another border
Yeah.
almost.
So we do have an agreed line between the city of Cedar Rapids and Marion. So, okay. Further discussion? All those in favor of approving resolution number 27987, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved, and I will turn over the gavel to Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Jensen?
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve resolution number 27988, approving an acquisition plat for property located on the south side of 35th Avenue, east of Hemingway Street, and this is Linmar Community School District and Robson Homes.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27988, approving an acquisition plat for property located on the south side of 35th Avenue east of Hemingway Street. This is Linmar Community School District and Robson Homes. Discussion? Mr. Jensen?
I just have a general question. When do we anticipate that road will be improved? Will that be fall or will that be spring?
That will be spring at the earliest,
Spring? Okay, at the earliest, okay.
because they have not even bid that as far as I know. They did it as a separate package from the school.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions or discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor of resolution number 27988 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Resolution passes. Mr. Brandt?
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve Resolution 27989, approving a request to waive Chapter 175 subdivision regulations of the Marion Code of Ordinances to allow the issuance of one building permit for Lot 1, Gemstone 6th Edition prior to final plat, Morriswood Enterprises, LLC.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve Resolution Number 27989, approving a request to waive Chapter 175 subdivision regulations of the Marion Code of Ordinances to allow the issuance of one building permit for Lot 1, Gemstone 6th Edition prior to the final plat, Morriswood Enterprises, LLC. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of Resolution Number 27989 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Resolution passes. At this time, we have a public hearing regarding...
Abstention, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, there was one abstention. At this time, we have a public hearing regarding an amendment to the Marion Code of Ordinances establishing Chapter 176.53 of the Marion Municipal Airport Land Use and Height Overlay Zoning. This is continuing from September 5th of 2019. Just as a reminder, we are still currently in the public hearing, and that public hearing is still open. Mr. Treharn, is there anything you would like to add to this, sir, before we would ask the public for any input once again?
I'd just point out that at the last, at the first reading of the ordinance, there was some conversation regarding one of the deviations, specifically as it relates to Zone A, or the runway protection zone, at the end of both the north and south ends of the runway. And the council did request that the Marion Municipal Airport Committee take a look at that and bring back a recommendation to the council. We met on September 11th. In the evening, the committee did review that provision within the proposed ordinance. I think they heard comments from the council, and then they also talked amongst themselves for quite some time, and there's quite a bit of deliberation really on whether to proceed, to make a recommendation to proceed one way or the other. But ultimately, they did recommend that they go to, I guess, on the more conservative route and make sure that that area is free and clear of development. So they did push forward to amend that ordinance from the previous deviation from the guidebook that we had discussed at the first reading. So the ordinance that you have before you this evening incorporates that amendment as they recommended.
Very good. So at this particular time here, we'll come back then to the amended portion in the next line item here. So at this point, we are still in public hearing. That is still open. I'll ask for the public at this time if anybody would like to speak before the council in favor of this item. Please do so by coming forward.
Frank Sherman, 4170 Canton Court, Marion, and I don't mean to make a habit of this. Believe me. I'm in favor of the ordinance, naturally, and it's for safety of the people on the ground and people in the air. And I want to thank Tom and the staff over there. They did a super job and some good changes since the last time around. I have a couple things yet I'd like to say and maybe have you take a look at, if you don't mind, Council. First of all, can we get the overhead on?
Oh, there it is.
This came out of the Iowa Airport Land Use Guidebook, and it just shows the general aviation and commercial aviation aircraft accident data on airport and general aviation. 68% of the accidents take place on the airport, 29% in the airport vicinity, and only 3% en route. And I thought that was a good statistic for everybody to know, and that's why we're doing this around the airport. In Zone A, that was corrected to delete the deviation from the guidebook. But I wanted to note that the definition in the amendment, it still says Zone A extends outward and upward at a slope of 34:1 vertical consistent with the approach surface. The guidebook says a portion of Zone B is overlain by Zone A because the approach surface and RPZ overlap the entire length of the RPZ. So by doing the deviation, that 34:1 slope, that got flattened down to nothing. There is no upward slope to Zone A. And it's zero gradient. And that remains in the definition. And I think it might be confusing because the way I would look at it, it says extends outward and upward from the end of the runway primary surface at a slope of 34:1. I don't know that sentence is needed in there, and request you take another look at it because there really is no slope in Zone A. A couple of items, actually one in particular, questionable changes from Zone B, from the guidebook to the approach zone. In the guidebook, the multifamily, group living uses, manufactured housing, hotels, motels, convention centers, meeting halls, et cetera, they were listed as not compatible in the guidebook. Currently, what you have in front of you with the amendment is they went to additional view required. These uses, by their definition, are really high populations of people, high concentrations of people, and there are plenty of other things that can be put in Zone B that meet the criteria that don't have high concentrations of people. For instance, if you don't mind me reading something, it says, as far as what's additionally authorized or additional review would be general office, professional office, financial businesses, sales-oriented, appliances, garden supplies, hardware, personal service-oriented, repair-oriented, outdoor storage, and on and on. There's probably 100 different uses you could put in Zone B. I believe the city should stick with not compatible for Zone B for those high concentrations of people, for those 4 items that show up yet that have been changed to now additional review rather than not compatible as a guidebook would have it. And when you go to additional review, you look at several things to see if something should be included in Zone B or any of the zones. It said you look at noise-sensitive related issues, high concentrations of people, tall structures, visual obstructions, and wildlife and bird hazards. Well, it says right in our own ordinance that noise-sensitive related issues and high concentrations of people are some of the things you should look at. That's already not compatible in the guidebook, so why change it to additional review? I don't know if I make my point here, but why would you want to go from not compatible because of the high concentration of people to additional review and then go through the list and it says, well, if it has high concentration of people, maybe you think twice about it. So anyway, if you would take a look at that, I don't necessarily think that those types of uses would be consistent in Zone B. If there's ever an aircraft accident, it's going to come down on a large group of people, concentrations of people, and the other thing would be the noise issue. I'd like to show you a picture of, let's see, here we go, of Zone B. I was playing around with Google Earth, which I'm not very good at. You can see the Marion Airport down at the bottom there, and the small trapezoid is actually fairly close, 10,000 feet out, 3,500 feet across at the top. And it goes out mainly over agricultural land. However, there's some subdivision just on the west side of it. So it's not that big a piece of property to restrict motels, group homes, convention centers, and other things from, because there are plenty of other uses that are allowed in it. Also, it says in the Marion grant agreement with DOT for the widening of the runway, it says, insofar as, it's at section 504 of your grant agreement with DOT, insofar as it is within the power and reasonable, the sponsor, which is the city, will prevent the construction, erection, alteration, or growth of any structure, tree, or other object in the approach areas of the runways of the airport, which would constitute an obstruction to air navigation according to the criteria or standards in FAA section 77.23 and 77.25, which are the imaginary surfaces and the obstructions. So I would think there would be plenty of reasons that you could give for going back to not compatible rather than needs additional review. And just by the way, while I'm at it, the reason I drew that middle line all the way up to Central City, a lot of times we think of the airport in the ways of visual flight because we don't have an instrument approach here. Well, the future, hopefully, and that's what the ALP was written for, was to bring a non-precision approach to the Marion Airport. And when you fly under instrument conditions now, clouds, bad weather, you can't see the ground, you come in, you fly the instrument approach, and here's what the pilot has. You can't see all of it. You can't see all of it at once, but he has that on his knee board, and looking at that, he can't see the ground. He sees the course inbound to the airport, which is here, but he doesn't fly there when he comes in from a direction. He flies out to the initial approach fix out here, and then he sets up on the course, in this case 049 inbound to Boca Raton, and then the other part of this is down here. It shows the step down that he takes once he gets to a particular point at the initial approach fix. He's going to be 2,000 feet or above, and then here he's going to be at Tana, 1,500. He has to be 1,500 feet or above. And when he gets in here to Omite, he has to be at 560 feet or above. So it's a step-down approach, being a non-precision approach. The reason I bring this up is when we come in to the airport in an instrument approach, that FAF is generally about 10 to 12 miles out, or the IAF. That approach fix, initial approach fix is right here. So if you're coming in from Chicago, you're coming in this way, you hit that point, and you set up on the course inbound to the airport. So you're flying the instrument approach, you look out the window, all you see is clouds. You step down altitudes as you get closer to the airport, as your distance gets closer. And then if you don't see the airport, in this case it's going to be 1 mile, you go missed approach and go to your alternate. So why is there such a large area around the airport? Well, it goes way beyond. This is the 10,000 foot point right here. The instrument approach and them coming in goes way beyond that. I just thought it might be of interest to you. The airplane doesn't come in and go right to the airport. They go way out, about 10 to 12 miles out to come in, and then step down in altitude until they can't see the airport at 1 mile, and they go missed approach, or they see it and land. That's why we're doing the whole. That's why we're doing the whole thing. That's why it looks so large. Any questions? Did I get too wonky and policy and oriented here? Too detailed? Okay.
Any questions here?
Other than that, thank you. I really appreciate it. Again, the staff did a good job. But if they could look at that definition of approach, of Zone A, and those 4 items that change from not compatible to further review, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you for endless hours that you spent on this. It's been
Okay, thank you,
a
Mark.
labor of love, I know.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman. Anyone else that'd like to speak to the council in favor of this item? Anybody that would like to address the council that has more questions or would like to be in opposition that would like to speak before the council? Seeing none at this time, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing at this time. I'm going to bring that back up to here. Tom, was there any comments that you'd like to make there on Mr. Sherman's topics that we talked about? I know there's been some highlighting and marking and circling up here.
Sure. Well, the first item is there. I would agree with Mr. Sherman. There was probably a sentence that probably also could have been, that should be struck if we are going to intend to use the same definition. I just took the one area and I failed to see that second sentence. So that clearly, and I appreciate bringing that forward.
Sure. And just for clarification, are you referring to that 34 to 1 vertical?
Correct.
Comment?
Yep.
Okay,
On
thank you.
page 9.
Page 9, okay,
Yep.
just so everyone has that marked up. I'm seeing notes being taken up here, so.
Yeah, that would be consistent with the rest where the definition is in the front of the book. So it was just an error in catching that.
Okay.
The other on the uses, what I was trying to pull up is just the zoning map to illustrate how big the approach zone is, and certainly not going to argue against the concerns of having people living in those areas. I mean, obviously, there's an issue with that. You got airplanes flying over your head, whether it's a single family, two family, or a multifamily, which single family and two family are already identified as additional review. The question is the caliber of our airport, and the determination if there's a bigger difference between two family, single family, and multifamily, and group living and manufactured housing parks in those areas at the end of the runway to the end of the approach zone. That is, I mean, the guidebook is saying non-compatible for the more dense uses. If the council feels more comfortable moving in that direction, I mean, staff's not really obviously not opposed to that. It's just that area is it is out from the ends of the runway. Clearly, if you had somebody that came in and said, I wanted to build a 4-story multifamily unit right at the beginning of the RPZ in the approach zone, with the additional review, we could say, that might be a little close to the protection zone, and maybe that shouldn't be something because of the density and the location. But if they were 1,000 feet away from that, maybe it wouldn't be such an issue, especially if there was some fall in the ground, so that even the approach zone would be substantially lower. But, I mean, I'm not going to argue with the safety. If there's a concern from that perspective and to go with the guidebook, then that is what it is. It's the council's decision on that.
So in this particular case, as we look at this item on page 12, if you take a look at Zone B, obviously it goes down through there as additional reviewed required on items 1, 2 to get to the multifamily, where it goes from AR to our recommended deviation, going from non-compatible to additional review. That's the item, right? Correct? I'm just, again, wanting to make sure everybody's following along.
Yeah, in Airport Table 3, the first column on page 12.
Yeah, very good.
There should be, there's 3 red markings.
You're talking about Zone B, right? Because there's also red in Zone D. Just Zone B.
You can see the black text is the guidebook, and the red text was staff's recommendations.
Okay.
The additional review provides the review. The non-compatible would mean it's a no-go. So it's just out of the gate, you wouldn't be permitted. If you could give me 2 seconds, I'd like to pull up the map just to illustrate kind of what we were.
If you would like to, sure.
Yeah.
Ms. Gedalia's got a question. I'm going to go ahead and start with questions up here. So while you're looking, Tom.
So I think, I want to echo what Paul said. I really do appreciate all of the time and attention that Mr. Sherman gives to this and the way that he's approached it. I think he makes a great point about the than NC to AR in the Zone B. And, a question I asked Tuesday was who does the additional review? And it has nothing to do with any personality per se, but it's one person. And based on what happened with the letter of recommendation that Steve requested several weeks ago, which changed what we're doing with Zone A, and that was a committee, a review. Tom, you mentioned a lot of deliberation. It makes me nervous that additional review isn't also by a panel of people consisting of airport experts, pilots, et cetera. So for me personally, I think that these should go back to NC in that zone. I just think that it shouldn't be up to any one person. It's a safety issue, and those stats were, what was it, 95% or something like that in total of accidents that happen on or in the vicinity of an airport. And there are a lot of high-density uses here. So I'm just feeling on that.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Jensen?
And if I look at this, show me the top side of that, Tom. Show me the north side.
Oh.
Pull that down. Okay, so Zone B, is Zone B on the north side already including manufactured housing? Where's
No.
the?
No, so,
Is that I see.
It's across.
so
That's,
I don't know if you can see in my little hand here.
yep, I see it. It's just on
That
it's
is
just on the
Zone A.
outside of it, isn't it?
And Zone B extends from here.
Yep.
So essentially on the north side of 151, this is Fernal Road, the extension
Yep, I
of
see it.
35th. So you're actually right out in here. Yeah.
Yeah, the current manufactured part is just on the brown. Yeah, right on the west side of it. Okay. Yeah, from the standpoint of, at first I was looking at the entire circle, and I would not have agreed with that, but I was looking, that's Zone C. Zone B, if you exclude some of these aspects of the four that Mr. Sherman's talking about, I certainly would not be adverse to that as well. Hotels, motels, they're going to have plenty of other areas to look at. So what was the reason we decided to change it from not compatible? Clarify that for me. Why did we change it from not compatible to
Additional review.
additional review?
From the perspective of when we looked at it as staff, I mean, we're building about 3 units per acre in some of these areas. Densities may go up. Is it more important to protect something? I mean, the max we're building in multifamily, I should know it off the top of my head. I don't, but we usually don't go over 3 stories in apartments. So your density per acre isn't too terribly much higher, and so you're just providing additional review for all residential. That's how we went with it. So if someone was building out here north of 30 or 20th Avenue Extended, which is Fernal Road,
Right.
are you kind of a measurement? Is it, if someone's in an apartment versus a neighborhood, a single family, there's a fine line there, I guess, is what we were thinking. Now, if you got an additional review, you could weigh that, and if somebody is proposing that down here at the end of the RPZ and they want to build a 3-story building and it meets the height requirements and they want to drop, 30 or 40 or 50 unit apartment complex at the end of the RPZ, it might be like, whoa, time out. That's a little too close, and then we would say that wouldn't necessarily be advisable. So.
Yeah, the 4, again, my personal opinion of the 4 that Mr. Sherman referred to, I would have less of a concern about manufactured housing park or multifamily. I think the higher concentration in my mind from a single area would come from the hotel, motel, or a convention center. Or you could have hundreds and hundreds of people in a small location versus the multifamily and even the manufactured housing parks aren't really, they're a little denser than some of the other ones, but not that much different than what we're seeing in some of the newer developments with a little more concentration. So I'd be kind of split personally, where I would say I'd take a look at a couple of them, hotel, motel, and convention center versus the other two.
This is
I don't know how everybody else
clearly
feels.
a council decision. We were just giving you kind of our thought. I would also state that if we were, right, wrong, or indifferent, if we were building a C2 737s were landing out here and we had made, that would be probably a different conversation. And I think we've made a number of changes relative to guidance. In the zone D and E, which is all of the gray area, we've changed a lot of those to compatible, simply because we just don't have that like major air traffic control type situation. So I understand that if there's changes, that's clearly, we brought them to the council's attention for that very reason. So we can move in that direction just as easy.
Ms. Atkins?
So thanks again to Frank to bringing some good information forward. I would support all four of those going from review to not compatible. I think from the density discussion we have, and also when we think about folks that might live in apartments or manufactured homes, they probably don't want to live near an airport as well. So I think moving it from AR back to NC would be where I would be for all four of those.
Thank you. Any other one from the council that would like to talk on this? Sounds as if, though, we're kind of possibly moving back to a request to not deviate off of the guidebook, but I think our staff needs direction on that, because our next item is going to be obviously to, moving forward with the amended version of this. So we want to make sure that we're giving all the details on this that staff feels like we should to proceed forward with it. I as well too. I guess I will speak up as well too. I guess I would go back to that. Not deviating off of it at this particular time. So I'm hearing possibly 3 people at this point, and then it can go back and come back at a later time. So at this particular time, we've closed that. We'll move on then to the next item here, and correct me if I'm wrong then, Tom, on that. Would you like us to make a motion to once again amend the amended version, or will you proceed with going ahead and making these? Obviously, this is the second consideration. It still needs a third one yet. And that might be for the legal hat over there.
Not picking mine up tonight.
Yeah. I might fight him for that hat a little harder than Ryan does. The most appropriate action would be to make a motion to amend, and then you can approve as amended for the second reading, and Tom can bring it back with the written amendments. But if the amendment you're talking about is just to take those categories that were mentioned and take those off, you can vote to approve with those amendments tonight.
Okay, very good, and I appreciate that. All right, so unless there's any further questions, sounds as if though we, Ms. Cadelia, I'll let you take the lead on that.
I just want to clarify based
Sure.
on what legal said. So I would move the ordinance, and I would read all of this language, but insert language about making the amendments for going back to code on those 4 items, and the language about Zone A. Does that capture everything?
That's already in there, isn't it?
Well, we needed a strike through of a sentence.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
That's right.
I believe we should call that out.
Okay.
I agree.
All right. I'm going to give it a try.
Yeah,
So.
give it a shot.
glad you're doing
We'll support
Yeah, it's
you.
usually, I wanted to hand it off. Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve ordinance number 19-24, amending the Marion Code of Ordinances, establishing Chapter 176.53, Marion Municipal Airport Land Use and Height Overlay Zoning, as amended, and with the amendments to strike through the sentence about Zone A to make it match the original language, as well as the 4 items in Zone B under the land uses as discussed.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 19-24, amending the Marion Code of Ordinances, establishing Chapter 176.53 with the Marion Municipal Airport Land Use and Height Overlay Zoning, with request to amending striking out the language 34 horizontal to 1 vertical consistent with the approach surface noted on page 9, chapter 11, A paragraph, subchapter number 1, and moving the 4 recommended items back to the guidebook, going back to non-compatible in the 4 recommended areas. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of ordinance number 19-24 with all of those amendments, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. That ordinance passes. Ms. Atkins.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 27990, approving 7th Avenue Commercial 4th Edition Final Plat and Memorandum of Agreement for property located 2590 6th Avenue and 2525 7th Avenue, Genesis Equities, LLC.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27990, approving 7th Avenue Commercial 4th Edition Final Plat Memorandum of Agreement for property located at 2590 6th Avenue and 2525 7th Avenue, Marion, Iowa. This is Genesis Equities, LLC. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of resolution number 27990 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Resolution passes with 1 abstention, and I'm turning the meeting back over to the mayor. Thank you.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 27991, approving deferral of sidewalk installation along 22nd Street for property located at 2274 5th Avenue, and this is by TWG Development, LLC.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27991, approving the deferral of sidewalk installation along 22nd Street for property located at 2274 5th Avenue. Discussion? All those in favor of resolution 27991, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Okay, the motion's been approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 27992, approving the Marion Lofts, First Edition, Final Plat and Memorandum of Agreement for property located at 2274 5th Avenue, Marion, Iowa. This is TWG Development, LLC.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27992, approving Marion Lofts First Edition Final Plat and Memorandum of Agreement for 2274 5th Avenue. Discussion. All those in favor of resolution 27992, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 27993, approving the Rookwood Estates First and Second Edition Final Site Development Plan for property located east of Scott Street and north of Cope Drive, Rookwood Estates, LLC.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27993, approving the Rookwood Estates First and Second Edition Final Site Development Plan for property located east of Scott Street and north of Cope Drive. Discussion? All those in favor of approving resolution 27993, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. This time we have a public hearing regarding rezoning request from R5 Moderate Density Multiple Family Residential to PDR Planned Development Residential for the property at 356 and 376 9th Street and Lot 4, Block 42, original Town of Marion. Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone here to address the council in favor of this measure? Please come forward. Come on forward. I assume you're in favor.
I would think so. I just have a couple, comments that I want to make, and it's been quite a journey getting to this point when we started quite a while ago. But I first say that I feel a lot of Go ahead.
I hate to interrupt you. Did you say your name and address, please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
People do listen to these meetings, and we need that in the record. Thank you.
Joe Hill, 1325 Pacific Highway, 2707, San Diego, 92101. Sorry.
Yep, thank
Okay.
you. Sorry,
Um,
just a little housekeeping.
What's that? Yes.
Little housekeeping item.
No,
Thank you.
that's important. You know, I've been to many of these meetings, and when I come in here, I always feel the positive energy, and I always think is it me or is it this room? But I say that in starting my talking points because I get excited about different things that I do. And in this project that I started quite a while ago now, there's been several events that have put me in this position with the Marion Historical Homes. And I look at many things and watch things happen. Many of us do. They look and they go, but I try to make a difference and I try to make things happen. This project will be one of the most talked about developments ever in Marion. I said from the beginning, this is a good for Marion, good for the neighborhood, preserves the history, and it's the right thing to do. First, where I come from this year, I come every 2 to 3 weeks to see my mom. I look out for her, and she had her business here in Marion, and I'm at peace where she's at Cottage Grove. They do an excellent job, and she needs your prayers right now. She's not doing very well. Second, on a more funner note, Nick, the mayor, delaying the action on tearing down the homes was instrumental in getting me to this point because he was waiting for that someone to come around and step forward and say, we can do something to save these. And that someone happened to be me. I was in the right place. I read the paper. I followed what was going on in Marion. And here I am. Many here don't know that in the very beginning, and back in January, I had a meeting with him. He called and wanted to meet with at 7 o'clock in the morning. It was at least 10 below. I think he wanted to see if I was going to show up coming from San Diego to meet him that way there. I guess I passed back in that morning. I think he forgot about that. Third, the Marion Council. You guys have given me the opportunity. In a small world, when Paul knew my father and Mr. Jensen's wife worked with my mom in her shop. And I thank everyone for their backing and different things. Fourth, I own a lot of property in Marion already, and I support Marion 100%. I have 3 other projects that I'm working on, and I put them on the back burner when this opportunity came here. So I'll be back here at a later date to discuss those, and these are even bigger and better than the project that I'm working on now. But that being said, there's been a lot of people behind the scenes, and Lon and his staff have been from day one, when I walked into his office without an appointment, said, hey, I got an idea. Come sit down. And we talked, and he listened. Nick Glue and his staff, walked me through the process all along, kept me informed of what was going on. Mike and Janice in engineering, I have to tease them because, that was that day, it was really cold on that first walkthrough, and it had just snowed, and I had driven in, and it was very cold, and I have to thank them because, when I went over to the house, the lights were on, the walks were shoveled, the heat was on, there's warm cookies and hot chocolate. When I went through the homes, only kidding, I was hoping that would be there, but it was not, and it was anything like what I just said, but it was kind of Dave Hockett. He's been instrumental in getting me to this point because in the beginning he challenged me, and he said, Joe, you got a lot of moving parts to make this work, be it the purchasing the properties and following through with the alley purchases, which I was here with you, and then the rezoning, which we had to go through, and all the architect renderings and different things. So there's quite a few that behind the scenes that was going on. And Kyle Martin, my architect, his renderings have been superb. They tell a story. And one of the things that the Planning and Zoning Commission was the most impressed with was the detail that we put through and to do this. It tells a story with the porches, with the capturing the neighborhood concept, what's going through. It would be remiss if I didn't talk about Lynette at the Marion Heritage Center, who I consulted with on this. She's quite a resource since I'm talking history and the buildings on different things. Very, very helpful in what I did there. James Hoth, who has a construction company, Select Construction here in Marion. He cleaned up the inside of the houses, hauled away truckloads of stuff, and he removed the garages, the additions, the porches, and different things. Craig, my go-to guy on everything else, my painter, mower, snow removal, he's the guy that painted the house across the street here. I looked at it and I said, it's across from City Hall. It looks terrible. We got to put some lipstick and paint on it to make it look better. Everybody that works here drive by and sees it here. I got my name attached to it, and I want it to be as nice as I possibly can. My paper here. The neighbors where the homes will be moved to. It is not by accident that no one from the neighborhood has objected. And the reason being is that I've talked to all of them. And I go door to door, and I go and visit with them and make sure that they understand what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. And I made that statement from the moment and the date the contracts were signed where I purchased the property, and doing what I can to make the neighborhood better. I think in everything that I've just said, there's one common element in everything, and that all the people that I just mentioned, from the contractors to the staff, all from Marion. And from day one, I said I want to try to use all Marion people on what I do here, because it's something that instills pride, and it's Marion. And I'm in Marion, this is Marion property, and I want to do that. Everyone knows that I live in San Diego, but Marion is my second home. Few know the journey I take to get here, the long flight to Chicago, the long drive, and the weather. I do not do this alone. My partner must first listen to all my crazy ideas and then keep me company on the drives. I thank Yolanda, someone very special. I need your help here, though. I have tried to explain to her that I'm moving two 1860 brick homes costing $100,000 each to a new location, and then spending over $1 million to rebuild them in Marion, Iowa. A city is very cold and very hot at times. I have not had much luck in selling her on that idea to come back with me. Maybe you can send her some cards and letters and tell her that it's not that bad, and the people are fantastic. Nothing I've done has worked so far. I think that energy in this room is me, and I thank this council and the city of Marion for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we're certainly grateful that you came forward and took on this project, and I think we're all going to be better for it. Okay, anyone else to speak in favor of this measure? Anyone to speak in opposition? Please come forward. Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Ms. Gadela?
Yes, Your Honor. I move to approve ordinance number 19-25, approving a rezoning request from R5 moderate density multiple family residential to PDR planned development residential located at 356 and 376 9th Street and Lot 4, Block 42, Original Town, Marion, Iowa. And this is on behalf of Seven Hills East LLC, the initial consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 19-25, approving a rezoning request from R5 moderate density multifamily residential to PDR planned development residential for property at 356 and 376 9th Street and Lot 4, Block 42, Original Town of Marion. Discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just add that anyone noticed that Mr. Hill has a shirt made with the with this rendering on there. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor of ordinance number 19-25, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. Thank you.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 27994, approving the United States Department of Transportation Standard Title VI Non-Discrimination Assurances and a Title VI Non-Discrimination Agreement between the Iowa Department of Transportation and the City of Marion.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27994, approving the United States Department of Transportation Standard Title VI Non-Discrimination Assurances and a Title VI Non-Discrimination Agreement between the Iowa Department of Transportation and the City of Marion. Discussion. All those in favor of Resolution 27994, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. At this time, we have a public forum, which is time set aside for anyone from the members of the public who would like to come forward to address the council on any topic. You're welcome to come forward at this time. Please turn in the yellow card with your name and address, and state your name and address at the microphone, please.
Right. Yeah.
Welcome, Mr. Nealon.
John Nealon, 1390 48th Street, Marion. I was here, about a year ago, I think, and I was pretty harsh on your city manager. After I left, I realized that probably was not the time and place to do that, and I took the opportunity to talk to Lon and apologize to him personally. And because I came down on him hard in the public, I would like to apologize to him in front of the city council, apologize again for those remarks. They probably said in private would have been much better than saying in public. And Lon, I apologize. The reason I'm here tonight, though, is 14 years ago I sat where the mayor sits, and prior to that I sat on the city council for 6 years. And one of my duties on the city council was to represent the city. Actually, I was responsible for representing all of the cities outside of Cedar Rapids who were responsible to sending their waste to Blue Stem. And I did my best to visit all of them. And as I talked with the city councils, they were concerned about what was going to happen with their trash, because at that time, Blue Stem, and I will refer to them a lot. I don't believe they're now Waste Management. They call them Blue Stem at the time.
Solid Waste Agency, I think.
Are they still considered Blue Stem?
It's called the Solid Waste Agency.
Pardon me?
It's called Solid Waste Agency.
No, not Solid Waste Agency now, but they had a committee that was made up of citizens, city councils, members, citizens, the mayor of Cedar Rapids, excuse me, and Lynn County supervisors who were advised who advised how to deal with the waste. At any rate, they had been working for 4 or 5 years to find a place to put their waste, and we were not being very successful. We had finally settled on a place that was off Highway 30 that belonged to a Mr. Hennessy, and it was an old rock quarry. And it would have been an ideal place to have a waste location, kind of hidden by trees and off the beaten paths and so on. Of course, as you go to put in a waste area anywhere, there's going to be people that come back and complain and so on and so forth. Well, it ended up being a decision by the FAA. The FAA said we couldn't go there because it would attract birds, and the birds would be dangerous for the airport. So it got down to a point where then said, okay, well, we'd like to just enlarge the Marion facility. Of course, Marion at the time, the agreement that we had, which was not in writing, but everybody assumed that when it met its capacity at that time, that it was going to close. Ended up with a legal fight between the city of Marion and the Blue Stem organization representing the waste management, that we went to court once, and in a preliminary decision, we lost. The city of Marion lost in that effort. And as we got closer to the actual having to close Mount Trashmore, a lot of pressure was put on the city of Marion. And the city council, I then became mayor, and the city council and I discussed at great length what the cost was going to be for the city of Marion and whether or not we could win in court, to continue to appeal and win in court. Our attorney at that time was quite honest with us and said, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think you have a chance of winning. you're going to lose, and you're going to spend a lot of money in that attempt to win. So I had an opportunity to sit down with Jeff Schott, who was the city manager at that time, and the head of the Blue Stem Committee, representing Blue Stem, and the mayor, the elected mayor of Cedar Rapids, who was Kay Halloran. Lou Barron represented Blue Stem. And we came to an agreement. I took it to the city council, and the city council agreed to it. However, it is a contract that we had. We didn't have that before. The city of Marion now had a contract which people dealing with the waste have to live up to. And I would recommend to all of the city council members to get a copy of that contract and read it. They gave us a number of things that they said they were going to do. The first thing they said they were going to do was be good neighbors. I would suggest that they have not been good neighbors. If you go out along County Home Road or along Highway 13 and talk to the neighbors there, you will find, I think, a negative response as to whether or not the waste management people at the Marion location have been good neighbors. They've continually fought and have fought waste coming off the vehicles, no matter whether they've been required to be recovered or not, but having to go out and pick up waste out of their yards, out of their fields, and so they have not lived up to that agreement. Because I was previously mayor, a lot of people come to me and say, well, what's going on in the city of Marion? And I actually tell them, I don't know, and to be very honest with me, in your cases, I don't care. Okay? When I say I don't care, I obviously have not been to a lot of your city council meetings. I haven't taken the opportunity to do that, but I certainly care very much about the city, and I care very much about our location and what may happen. It is my understanding, I know people like to keep secrets if they can, but secrets are not kept at least in this situation. I know that you have been approached individually by the solid waste people, saying that they want to extend or open up one more cell south of the present location. That is against the agreement that they signed. What bothers me is that when I sat down with Lou Barron and with the mayor at that time, we said that this is going to be a teeny, weeny waste area, temporary. We even got I guess, what is it? It came out in a paper. It's think of the word I want to use, but it says, we agree on a tweeny dump, that it was not going to be a continually large area. I want you to know that we also agreed, because of the time while I was on Blue Stem, the length of time it took to get approval to take our waste anywhere. Other than coming to Marion, the option was to go and build a transfer station. And we visited a number of transfer stations because people said, different contractors said, well, we have a great transfer station, please come and take a look at it. So we looked at 2 or 3, and none of us were excited about those locations because they were pretty dirty, pretty nasty, no matter what they said they were going to do. But that was the other option. In other words, to take it to a waste transfer station where they would then take it to Illinois. Ladies and gentlemen, we've had that waste area there now a lot longer than the last 12 to 14 years. The waste area was there before that. And they'd been putting waste from Marion in that area for years before that. And so the people that have lived out there have probably had to deal with waste and the debris coming off vehicles probably for at least 30 years total. When I took it to the people of Marion, the citizens of Marion, when we did not have a time limit on how long that they would be able to use that facility, I got a lot of pushback. My answer to them was, I think that they'll get to their height limit and length limit sooner than a time area. And that is basically what's happened. It's been about 14 years. You have, in Marion, the opportunity to grow to great heights in reference to continuing to bring in manufacturing, housing, hotels, businesses. It's time to say, as we move north, to close that facility. Right across the street from that facility is the ball diamonds that have just been placed. And if you've paid any attention at all, every weekend since it's been open, it has been full of teams playing. The individual said that he would guarantee to bring them, and he's brought them. If you go by our motel we have in town, it's full. I have talked to young men that have come down to the gas station that's there at the corner of 150, 113, and asked them, oh, are you playing at the Ball Diamond? Yeah. How do you like it? It's fantastic. How do you like the area? It's great. Where are you staying? At the motel. I believe they're in the midst of building another motel right there at 151, are they not? Tom? Aren't they building that motel now? They've got the foundation in?
There's not a foundation in there, but there's plans to build one.
That's a different commercial building.
Pardon me?
That's a commercial building that's being
There's a
built.
commercial building going in there. Well, that will certainly grow. You know, Cedar Rapids has already cut us off to south. They have annexed all the land south of the golf course on Highway 13. I think, quite honestly, if we're not careful, they'll do what they did to Hiawatha. They simply surrounded them. I think it's time for us to look long term, and see what growth we get east of Highway 13 and continue to move north. And as we do that, we need to understand that people don't want to live next door to a waste management. It is my understanding that the ground up there now is so polluted that they can't dig a well and get fresh water, both across the street where the ball diamonds are, nor at the waste facility. Marion at the time was offered the opportunity to annex all the way to Highway 13. We should have. I don't think we did. We should have. I was still mayor then, and I should have pushed it. The biggest problem was financing. We would have to finance and put in sewer and water. Probably now would have been a great investment. We would have had owned that land, which would have been one more reason to say to anybody, no, we don't want you to expand. The biggest thing that bothers me is that they have not taken any reasonable effort to find another way or another place to take waste. I believe that there were some questions or some talk about the plasma arts or something along those lines, plasma. They had to guarantee so much waste. And at that time, Cedar Rapids was not willing to say, yeah, okay, we'll give you all of the waste that normally goes into our waste facility. I think it's time to go back and look again. But I think it's time. I think the citizens of Marion have had it long enough. I know that they've come to you, and I know that they've offered you a number of things financially that would probably look very good for the city. But I think you need to think twice. If they expand it, we're looking at another, 5 to 7 years? You know, I would hope that 14 years from now, that the mayor or members of you would not be coming up here going, God, I wish we'd have done that. We might have gotten such and such commitment for a larger place to put anything from, and I apologize, I'm 79, I'm starting to have some problem getting words out, but not only educational, but recreational areas there. The next thing you'll know, they'll say, well, we need to go across Indian Creek and go west and maybe build across there. And my answer to that, they've already polluted Indian Creek. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Marion's my hometown. I grew up here. I left when I was 18 years old and joined the service. Started as a private. 22 years later, after a lot of hard work, retired as a major. My wife is from Marion. We wanted to come back here. We came back. I feel very proud of the fact that I got involved with the city, ran for city council, was a member of the city council for 6 years, and extremely proud of the fact that I was elected mayor. I've often said that I wish my mother and father had been alive when I got elected. If my dad was alive when I got elected, my mother would have been, John, I'm so proud of you. My dad said, if you got elected mayor, the city's gone to hell. But I speak to you from my heart. Please get the contract. Read the contract. Realize what the potential we have to move and be better off without them the next 5, 10 years. You're still on the council. Your Honor, you're going to run again. I think you've done a fantastic job. I support you. I support all of you. I get emotional. I apologize. My wife says, why do you care? And I said, well, the reason no one knows this but my family, because that's all I revealed it to, that my oncologist has given me a time. He told me, John, you have a blood disease with no cure. And when we sat and talked with him, he said, you probably have 3.5 to 4 years. Well, I've just completed my 2nd year. And I had a blood test recently. And after the blood test is the first time he said to me, well, I'm concerned. See the bruises on my arms? I fell down this morning, just hit the carpet and started to bleed. I touched my dog the other day, just barely touched me with her paw, and click. And I started to bleed. Same here. I know that each and every one of you are proud to sit where you are today, and you consider Marion to be as important as I do. I just want my nieces and nephews who are in the first and second grade to grow up and be as prosperous and as happy living in this area as we are. So think very seriously about a decision you're going to have to make, probably in the near future. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Oh, got to take my teeny.
Anyone else address the council?
Your Honor, I'd like to address that issue for a moment, if I
Well,
might.
is that appropriate? Hold on one second.
You'd want to wait until the council discussion time?
Is that okay, Paul? Wait till council
Certainly.
discussion? Okay, we have someone else here to address the council. Please state your name and address, and then you'll have to fill out the card for us after you're done, okay?
Got it.
Thank you.
Kent Integrity Homes, 3436 Barnsley Circle, Marion. Sorry, I wasn't here. I ran a little late, so I missed the public safety comment. Is it okay if we talk about that, or is that past its time?
Well, that's fine.
Okay. Well, I just, so I started developing the ground out there off Echo Hill, and we're planning on starting a new phase this fall, and now we ran into a snag that the fire department there's an ordinance that won't allow us to build more than 100 homes. Well, not that I'm building them, but there can't be over 100 homes off of a one exit street, and Echo Hill is just one exit. And so I'm asking for your guys' help because I'm going to have some very expensive farm ground pretty soon if we don't, if we're not able to continue developing. We've submitted plans to the building department and planning department and engineering, and we were planning on starting another 18 lots this fall, and we're not going to be able to if we can't find another way to bypass that ordinance or connect Smithland Drive. So I know you guys bypassed the ordinance for the new school, and so I think there was like a widening of a path or something that allowed the fire department to come down that. So I just wanted to see, we were hoping to start here in a month, but I don't know if that's going to happen, but I wanted to see if there was anything that can be done to kind of expedite this, I guess, so. I don't know.
Okay. So
how does that, I don't know how that works. I mean, we went to the variance board, they couldn't change it because there's an ordinance, and so the variance board couldn't override that. So it's more up to, I guess, the council on how it proceeds, I guess. So
the item on the agenda was receive and file.
Oh, okay.
So there was no action taken in terms of, correct? So.
Did the council want to see that or not?
We looked at it on Tuesday and discussed it on Tuesday. We had discussion on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it something that can be brought up at a later time, or how does that work? I'm not sure how any of this works.
Sure.
We unfortunately.
Does somebody want to just let him know where it's at and?
So the request, I think, was to bring forward Smithland Drive to make a connection, and what was indicated on Tuesday that would take a capital improvement project to be put together, and that street in itself is very complicated, and so there'd be quite a bit of budget questions and process to get that accomplished. And even if we started it today, it would be next year before it would get accomplished, just because of the way that we have to work through that process. And then on top of that, with the way that sorry. the way that that would work, there would still be a gap in the ability to serve their area, because if you look at the slide here where you're standing, and fire can provide some guidance on this too, you're still here with a connection, and from here back, your limitations are going to be just as difficult to overcome. It's just a difficult situation without having any other egress from the area. Now, and I think this was mentioned as well, the only way, because of the ordinances in place and why the boards, they didn't go against it, because it is ordinance, the only way to do it is get a waiver of the ordinance, or provide for that second egress in some other manner. I know it's difficult, but that's kind of where it stands.
Okay.
Even with the school, this was quite a bit of a conversation with the school as well, and they had to make a substantial improvement to provide for that second egress.
Okay.
So,
Wait.
And from the Tuesday discussion, there was not a majority, my sense was there was not a majority on council that would support the extension of Smithland.
No,
And
Why is
I
that?
think that was clear.
We didn't see any benefit.
I think a couple of the main reasons is it still really only has that one outway. Then there's the capital expense issue that Tom raised. And then I think for me, and maybe even the majority of council, the fire department doesn't recommend it. It's a safety thing. If you were here for this whole airport discussion today, and safety is really the primary concern, and so that's what's guiding the decision.
If safety was such a massive concern, why did you give the school the ability to put another school
I'm not
there?
here to debate you.
Oh, yeah,
I'm just answering your question.
This is just a comment.
This isn't
It's
even.
Okay,
section,
yeah,
so-
okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
so
just trying to give you
yeah.
information.
Okay, so is there another time? Okay, so is there another time we can discuss that or something? Or, I mean, to give a school that waiver but not give us the waiver, it's kind of, yeah. So I guess I would want to talk to in a more of a where we can talk back and forth and figure out a way to make this happen, I guess. So I don't know where we go from here, but if someone could just reach out to me, that'd be great. So,
Okay.
all right. Thank you, guys.
Tom, will you do that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, other comments from the public? Okay. If there aren't any, then we'll move on to council discussion. Renee?
Sure. Two things. One, I just want to thank staff for putting visuals up as we talk about them. I noticed there were a lot more slides tonight to follow, and I think it's helpful for the public. And then I also, just on a personal note, tonight's meeting was just a really clear example of one of the reasons that I like being a part of City Council. When you have people like Frank and John and Joe come up and you see the care and investment in the city and where we're going, and then being able to be in a position to shape and guide it, it's just why I love doing this. So thank you, citizens, for doing that and being involved, particularly those three tonight. Those stand out, so just want to say thanks.
Okay.
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Pass.
Yes.
Paul, I know you have something.
all the way down here. Oh, and I'm sorry to interrupt before, Mayor. The only thing, I know that I've had hundreds of hours of discussion concerning the subject that Mr. Nealon brought up. And I know that Ryan is working very hard trying to think if there's some form of technology that might take over this situation. And it really is important for the growth of our community. And I am one that has not been invited to speak to the Blue Stem people. they don't seem interested in anything I have to say, so if they do, I won't go anyway. But that's all I had, other than I always have a little bit of history. I said last week that people people get used to waiting in line for pizza on the corner of 10th and 7th Avenue. You go by there on the weekends, and Zoe's always has a lot of folks out there. I said, I don't want people to forget that years ago, and some of you will remember, waiting in line at Stickney's Bar and Grill on a Friday night for fish. That line would be as long as Zoe has it. And on Wednesday night for ribs. They did a great job. And the sad thing I wanted to say is I lost a friend this week. We all did. And Ray Sheldon. Ray Sheldon owned Edison Pharmacy. And he and Harold Stickney got together originally and bought the lots across the road. And Harold used that for parking. Well, eventually Ray Sheldon built the only fire-resistant building in the city of Marion, where there's a realtor office now. But Ray is a great loss to our community. He's 85 years old, and there aren't many of us old merchants left around, and he was a really a good one. So, thank you.
Thank you. For my part, I do have a Reaching Higher recognition. I received a letter regarding our city clerk, Rachel, who attended the Iowa Municipal Professionals Academy, and so I think we appreciate the time that she's putting into this job. I think she's doing a great job, and she's taken the job to a new level in my observation. And this is just part of that she went for more training and to increase her knowledge and her skills. So thank you, Rachel, for all you do. Since the last meeting, I was out of town for the prior meeting, but since my last meeting, these are just some of the things that have happened and that I've attended. Intercultural Day out at Tuma Soccer Fields, which was a regional festival, and also we had the Lau Park Playground ribbon cutting. I attended the American Legion Centennial Open House. We had the Civil Rights Commission 5-year anniversary celebration. Of course, we had our police chief selection. We had the Marion Youth Center opening, the Boys and Girls Club. We had the groundbreaking for the fire station. We had a new restaurant open. I was honored to get to speak to the National Council on Youth Leadership students who went through the program this year last Sunday, and then on Monday I was awarded an award. They call it the Visionary Youth Leadership Award for someone who dedicates a lot of time to youth and makes a difference. So I was really humbled and honored by that. Tomorrow we have the Riverview Center open house here in Marion. So there's a lot going on, and more and more all the time. So we have a lot to be happy about and a lot to be proud of, and just really pleased to see the direction of the city and to see everyone working together so hard to continue to make great things happen. So thank you all. Have a great week or weekend. And next week is the Swamp Fox Festival next weekend. So put that on the calendar and come out and celebrate.
I have a motion.
We have a closed
Yes.
session.
Mayor, I make a motion to adjourn to closed session regarding litigation as permitted under Section 21.5, subparagraph 1C of the Code of Iowa.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn to closed session regarding litigation. as permitted under Section 21.51C of the Code of Iowa. May we have our legal opinion, please?
Your Honor, I have reviewed the proposed subject matter for the closed session and find the same to be appropriate under Iowa Code Section 21.51C.
Okay. Do we need discussion? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Draper?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mr. Jensen?
Yes.
Mayor Abalosly?
Yes.
Mr. Sterned?
Yes?
Mr. Brandt?
Yes.
Ms. Gedalia?
Yes.
Okay, we're adjourned to closed session. We'll return to open session upon completion of the closed session. Thank you for joining us.